Confused on commissions and who's paying what? Well, a seismic shift happened in the real estate industry last week when a landmark lawsuit of $18 million was settled by the National Association of Realtors. And come mid-July, there's going to be a new normal on how commissions are negotiated, how they're distributed, how much commissions are going to be, and most importantly, who's going to pay for the buyer's agent commission. In this video, I'll break down what the current system is when it comes to commissions and what the NAR settlement and how this affects home buyers and sellers come mid-July. Hey, if you're new to my channel, welcome. I'm Jade, and I'm here to give you the lowdown on the latest housing market news and also help guide you through your real estate journey made simple. Okay, since the settlement happened last Friday, a lot of my buyers and sellers have been reaching out to me and asking, what does this all mean? And as I've been following this lawsuit for months, I was a little surprised that the NAR, the National Association of Realtors, ended up settling last Friday. So what lawsuit was about was that homeowners felt commissions were price fixed and that there was a standard commission that you had to pay. And so that's where all the disagreement came. While the NAR said that commissions are always negotiable, you don't need an agent to sell your house. You could sell it for sale by owner and completely forego the services of an agent. If you do end up hiring a listing agent to sell your house, they were saying that there was a standard commission that was understood, which got us into this predicament in the first place. Now, as a homeowner myself, I do think it is good for the industry. There's greater transparency. There's more control in the hands of the home seller, and that everything is fully transparent and crystal clear on how much commission is being paid and by who. So backing up to the current system right now, we have a seller and he wants to list his house. So he hires a listing agent and they negotiate a commission of, say, 5% total commission. And if an offer ends up coming through a buyer who also has an agent, then the total commission is split, let's say 2.5% for each side, for the buyer's agent and for the listing agent. And so that is split between the two. But the listing agent is the one that distributes the funds. That is the current system. Now, the new rules starting mid-July say the buyer's agent commissions cannot be communicated or advertised on the MLS. So you won't know if a seller is willing to pay a commission, how much. So that will all be negotiated once the offer comes in from the buyer, if a buyer is using an agent. A buyer doesn't have to use an agent. They could directly go to the listing agent. Now, the second rule also is that working with a buyer's agent requires a written contract with the buyer. So it will be clearly spelled out what the buyer agent is going to do and how much they are going to be compensated and by who. So how are things going to look for all practicalities once these new rules come into effect? So we'll start off with the seller. If a seller wants to put their house on the market, if they want to use an agent, they can still hire an agent and the agent's commission will be negotiated. So let's just say commissions are at 2.5%. If the listing agent still markets the house and advertises that the house is for sale by doing various activities, on a $500,000 house, a 2.5% commission would be $12,500. Now, if an offer comes in through a buyer's agent, then at that point, that's when commissions will be negotiated on how much. If the seller is willing to pay at all and how much that could be, once the offer comes in, they can negotiate 1%, 2%, 2.5%, or a flat fee. So that's what I'm saying is there's greater control of how much commissions would be. It seems a little bit more of a free market system, which I think is great. And this could be negotiated through a increased sales price. The buyer could add on the buyer's agent commission to a $500,000 house. So if they add on $12,500, that would be $512,500 to the offer. And then that $12,500 would be paid off during the closing costs and a seller concession to the buyer's agent. Now, if the listing agent ends up finding a buyer for their seller, they could negotiate at that point as well. And they could just do the technical aspects of writing out an offer and helping the buyer out with all the contractual duties, but not actually representing them. They would still be representing the seller and having a fiduciary duty to the seller. Hey, real quick, if you found this video helpful at all, please hit the like button, subscribe, so you can stay informed of the latest housing market news and real estate advice made simple. Okay, moving on to the buyer side and how the settlement will affect buyers. From all the research that I've done, it looks like there's a few options that are going to happen. I don't know exactly because obviously it hasn't happened yet and I don't have a crystal ball, but it looks like there's a few options which could be after a buyer consultation with the buyer and a buyer's agent, they could settle on the buyer paying for the services of an agent. Another option could be obviously for the buyer's agent to ask for the seller to pay for the services, and as I just mentioned before. And a third option could be to ask for the seller to pay for the services of a buyer's agent, and if that doesn't happen, then the buyer will foot the bill. And a fourth option, I think that is possible, is having a minimum fee for the buyer's agent. Going into a relationship, a contract, so there is minimal fee possibly. This obviously could be a percentage, it could be a flat fee, and then the buyer's agent would ask the seller to increase that to a certain point, or if they can't get the seller to agree to that, then just having the minimum fee. So what does this lawsuit and settlement all mean for home sellers and buyers? Well, unfortunately, there are winners and there are losers. The winners would be the home sellers. They definitely came out on top with greater power of how commissions are paid, how they're distributed. There's more transparency, so that's great for them. And possibly, I think that commissions will be going down. On the losing side, it is unfortunately the buyers. There are a lot of buyers that are struggling to get in a house right now, on top of the down payment, the closing costs, and now they might be responsible for paying for their agent. That's just a bigger burden for them. And for realtors, I would say there are winners and there are losers. The losers would be agents that aren't providing great service, great value for their fee. It will be hard for them to justify working with a buyer and working with a fee. Whereas realtors, there are so many that are worth their weight in gold, and it definitely pays to have a good realtor that knows what they're doing and is an expert. So what's actually going to play out and be the new normal? I'm not sure. But I'd love to hear your comments on what you think, so just write down below. And if you need any help or have any further questions, please don't hesitate to reach out. My details are in the description below, and thank you for watching.